I want to give you the truth about something you already know, but no one will ever report on this because it goes against the narrative. You know inflation is bad. You know that we are paying higher prices for almost everything. When it comes to gasoline, it was reported this morning, $600 million a day extra at the gas pump. That's what we spend every day, $600 million more for our gasoline. And this is all caused intentionally by the Biden administration. They are the ones that are controlling supply. It's a centralized, planned economy as much as they can get it. The one thing that the Fed and Biden and everybody is saying that they're going to fix the economy, and it's really these workers that just won't go to work. They're not really even saying that, but that is partly true. And as soon as we get people not be afraid of COVID, they can all go back to work, and then everything's going to be fine. And the inflation is transitory. That's bullcrap. Wages are up 4.6% from this point last year. Okay? So if you're going to work, your wages may have gone up by 4.6%. However, the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Expenditure Survey found that housing, which accounts for 1/3 of the average household's budget, 1/3 is up 20% from last year. Transportation, your fuel, is up 60%. Now, that's no small thing with the average household spending 16% of its budget on transportation. So already 16% of your budget is gone, and fuel is up 60%, and your home is up 20%. Food, which makes up 13% of the average family budget, is up 5.3%. Personal insurance and healthcare easily eat up nearly 1/5 of household budget. They are up 8%. Clothing is up 3.1%. The average budget, 4.3%. All in all, this means that the most necessary 85% of the average family household budget has costs 21.7% more than last year. And 62% of that budget goes to food, shelter, and transportation, and that is 27% higher. I don't think your 4.6 increase of your paycheck covers a 27% increase on the things that make up the majority of your budget, do you? And we haven't really seen real inflation yet. Kraft, Kellogg, Frito-Lay, Goya has said they have to increase the prices of their products. Kraft says they're going to increase by 20% all of the Kraft products. Good thing we don't buy a lot of stuff from Kraft, huh? I have a friend who's been on the program before. It's Bob Unanue. He is the president and CEO of Goya Foods. This is a guy who worked the production line. He drove the trucks. He's now the president and CEO and has made Goya into a self-sustaining company by opening up a steel cutting factory for the cans, and they print their own labels and everything else. Bob, tell me about the reality of your business and what's happening.
Well, great to hear from you, Glenn, and great to talk with you after being with you this summer with Tim Ballard in Utah. Who's a great, from day one, Glenn, we've been working. We never stop working. The problem is we're like a modern-day prodigal children out on a spending spree. We're being thrown all this money, incentivized to stay home, not to work. We need a reason to get up in the morning. God, family, work, school. They're taking away our spirit. It's gluttony. It's gluttony. And the highest costs are coming from Asia because we want everything. And everything that's coming in from Asia, the roadblocks, the log jams at the ports in Long Beach, are because we're buying so much. We're producing less here. When we were talking out in Utah, $150 billion is the amount, the industry of child and human trafficking. That number recently swelled, I believe, to 200 billion. But when you're talking trillions, that's not a big deal. But we're the biggest consumers of goods. We're the biggest consumers of traffic. We're the biggest consumer of drugs. And so, there's a saying, which is disputed by the person that built Dubai, who said, "My grandfather rode a camel, my dad rode a camel, I drive a Mercedes, my son drives a Mercedes, my grandson will ride a Range Rover, but my great-grandson, will ride a camel." Mm-hmm. Why? Because hard times create strong men create easy times create
soft men.
Hard times.
Yeah.
Soft men create hard times.
Yeah.
And we need to create warriors, not parasites. But we are becoming parasites. Part of our day, a lot of the people in this country don't pay taxes. We're working every day for other people not to work. We've become, like Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, what you can do for your country. We got to get up every day and work. We're working for people not to work. This is crazy. These are easy times, and this is not going to last. We're going to be like the prodigal sons coming home on their hands and knees, begging to be brought back in. This country cannot sustain itself this way. It
amazes me, Bob. Are you having a problem at Goya with getting enough workers?
Yes. And everybody is, we were running extra shifts because of demand. We've had to cut down to, single shifts, longer hours, do more with less. Our wages went up close to 70% from just 2 years ago. So, because people aren't, they're not working. You got to compete with the government that's throwing money at people to stay home. But what good is it when you stay home and do nothing? You are taking away a reason to get up in the morning, reason to live, to work, to produce.
So, Bob, I have read that there is going to be a shortage of aluminum cans because aluminum will be hard to find. You started, when you took over Goya, one of the things you did was you made yourself kind of independent. You make your own cans and everything else. Is there going to be a can shortage? Or is that...
Yeah, well, there's a shortage of everything. It's steel. We do steel cans with tin coatings. But there's shortages of crowns for bottles. There's shortages of glass. There's shortages of lumber. I figured out why there's shortage of lumber, and that's because they're printing so much darn money that they're using all the wood for paper. But, housing costs, all these construction costs, you can't get things. And, our demand locally is there's inflation there, but the big inflation is coming from products that we're importing from overseas. And just we can't be satisfied enough. The gluttony is too much. We need things. But you go out to eat, you go out to the stores. There's help wanted signs all over the
everywhere.
Place. In the beginning, last year during COVID, we were working. We didn't have the problem. The problem occurred when this money flew out, to everybody and say, don't worry about going to work. Just stay home and relax. But, I worked the production line when I was 10 years old, and a minute seemed like an hour. And if you put a kid and you sit him at home, like they say, the idle mind is the devil's workshop. You can do no good if you don't have a purpose to get up every day.
And it is amazing how you can write your own ticket at this point. My son just started working at Pizza Hut, and he in one night made $95 in tips at a Pizza Hut. It's crazy. And I told him, I said, son, if you work hard, you could be running it in a year or two, because people are not coming to work. And when they do, they're not necessarily, the hardest workers. Hard-working people, now is their time. especially for youth.
And they have to work hard because they're usually the only people in the place. If you usually have a staff of 20, it's 5 or 6.
Yeah, well,
they've got to do more with less.
Yeah. Bob, is there any doubt in your mind? Is this inflation that we're seeing? Is this transitory? Is this just going to cure itself?
This is. We're moving away from God. We're throwing money at more and more people don't pay taxes. When I got out of college, I made $4 an hour, and I made $8,000 a year, and I paid taxes. I don't care how much you make. If you got it, we have to produce. We have to pay taxes. If we don't, if we keep raising the bar, they say tax the rich, but people who are working are being taxed, and the people who are not working are getting the benefit of that. As long as that persists as our modus operandi, this is not just inflation; it's the dismantling, the destruction of our nation.
You're exactly right, Bob. Thank you for everything that you do. President and CEO of Goya Foods. It's Robert or Bob Unanue. From Goya. Thank you, as always, Bob, for everything that you do. That guy is really involved in charity as well. He's a great guy.